The surgery is at 10:30.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be recovering here for a couple days.
Get a new nose.
I mean, if you
cool Gonzo-shaped nose, a big long one, you know.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. No, I mean, if you looked at me right now, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Michael Jackson route.
Yeah, there you go. The point.
Bigger one.
Little cartoon point. Cut glass with that shit.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, it was our fault. We made a mistake. Spotter said it was clear. I wasn't clear, and, you know, I didn't want to tear my car up, tear his car up either. I respect everybody, and I demand respect. And, you know, I apologized to the guy when he came over the car, explained to him what happened, and then he took it to another level when he started calling me an idiot and whatever else. And I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to take it. I told him how I felt. I called him out. He didn't show. You know, and so, you know, I'm good with it if he's good with it, but I'm not going to be disrespected by no means.
Yeah, I guess I had a dinner date at Applebee's last night that I didn't find out about until it was too late. It's a shame. Love their riblets and boneless wings, but...
All right, folks, welcome to Meet Me at Applebee's, your motorsports podcast, now featuring an actual race car driver. My name is Brien. With me, as always, is Rob and Ashley. Folks, how we doing today?
Good. I'm happy to announce my truck contract here. Thanks for the intro, Brien. I really appreciate it. We'll get into that later. How you doing, True Love?
I'm great.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't have a race car to drive. But Brien drove one. Well, I guess we'll get into that a little bit later in the show, right?
And yeah, there's a lot to talk about with my weekend, but there was lots of racing happening other places. We had all sorts of stuff going on in Indianapolis. We had the Knoxville Nationals. Lots of good stuff. So what's going on? What do we want to talk about first, folks?
Well, I guess we should just talk about the NASCAR shit first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Since that's probably what most of the listeners are here for. My crusade to get everyone to be dirt late model fans is it's moving along, but you know, I haven't seen a change in attendance just yet, so I guess we'll get there. But
we're working on it.
But man, I gotta say, I much prefer IRP to the road course, even though both of those races were fine.
Yeah, I'll straight up say right off the bat, I did not really watch much of anything Friday and Saturday because obviously I had stuff going on. You know, I listened to the MRN, or it wasn't even MRN coverage, it was the in-track audio, I guess, the in-track or indie system, whatever. That was a new thing on my feed, but that's cool. You guys will have to catch me up on all the action I missed with Baby Ty winning and whatnot.
Yeah, he did win. I actually didn't watch that race either, to be perfectly honest with you. My bandwidth was all taken up by the Knoxville Nationals and Kyle Larson going in there and just stomping a mud hole on everybody.
Oh, yeah. I will actually, as part of my major dirt weekend, I think I definitely watched the main event of the Nationals, and yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, Larson leading every single lap was I guess not totally unexpected after what I saw at Attica, but
I mean,
something.
He didn't put a foot wrong all weekend. He had a bad draw in his first heat on Wednesday night. I was like, we'll start the NASCAR shit when I were just talking about World Outlaws, as it should be. But he had a bad draw and kind of was a little further back in his heat, and he passed like 6 cars and got to the front, and that was just about it for the rest of the weekend. And I want to give a quick shout out to David Gravel, even though I'm not a fan. He had pretty much the worst fucking Wednesday night or Thursday night possible. It was Wednesday night, actually, and he basically ran 1,000 laps is what it felt like, and he managed to work his way all the way back up to second in the A-main from the back. Just threw the soup, almost got it, but yeah, just not quite fast enough to catch Larson, so.
Yeah. I mean, that was cool to see. What about Ashley? Did you watch any of the racing this weekend that me and Rob clearly missed?
I mean, I watched all of it, but there's not much to say.
Well, let's talk more about IRP Friday because, yeah, I mean, the road course stuff is whatever. But first off, let's mention SVG. He made his debut, and I didn't expect much out of him, but he got 19th, which is pretty decent.
It's pretty damn good. Yeah.
But I think the real news of the weekend with him was he made it to the Holy Land.
He did.
He made it to the Crawford Road Applebee's.
We have never had a more resounding fan response or overwhelming. Like 10 of you, 10 of the 50 people that listen to this show reached out and sent us the video of him walking up into Mecca there.
I believe he even said, like, hey, Trackhouse, let's get kicked out of Applebee's. So I think I am now a full SVG fan. He definitely won me over with that tweet.
Yeah, and he got top 10 in the Cup race, too. So, yeah, I think it'll be nice to see him over here next year. And it sounds like that's going to be something we get to see.
Yeah,
Brien?
Oh my God.
Brian's gone.
It's fine. We'll just replace him with SVG.
Yeah. Well, I just think. Oh wait, that's not the right accent for SVG. Yeah, I might. Just fucking. Went out to the Applebee's there, and should fucking. What's an appetizer at this place? I'm going to like a Wisconsin thing now. Yeah, Shane Van Gisbergen. Yeah, we tailgating out there at the Brewers game, and here comes Brien. I can't carry the show anymore, folks.
Oh, too many different accents.
What's going on with the Wi-Fi out in Ohio?
We should also say we are recording a night early because tomorrow is my surgery that I mentioned.
Were you talking the whole time just now?
No, I was not. I waited till my moment. I still listen.
What is happening?
Technical difficulties.
It's a whole shit show, folks.
Yeah,
Real shit show.
I know you were about to say, and it is true, we are recording on a Monday night, so
yes.
Some of the facts and shit you hear, and we should have led with this, as all professional news programs do when they tape delay. But yeah, Brien is having surgery on his little nose.
Getting my nose straightened and lengthened and whatever else you guys said before the show.
Like a Pinocchio kind of situation.
A diamond cut.
I can't wait. I'm gonna look awesome.
So yeah, if we say anything that is suddenly incorrect by Wednesday, that's why.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we were talking about Shane Van Gisbergen at Applebee's, and that's pretty much where it left off. But yeah, I'm happy to see him over here. And
so it seems like he's gonna not have. At least with the rumors I've heard, it's probably not going to be a full Cup season. I think it's going to be like a mixed bag deal. I'm sure you'll see him at all the road courses and probably a few ovals, but it sounds like he might be maybe getting in a Nice truck or something like that and getting some more experience. So
yeah, I bet you he'll run Daytona as well. Since he'll just throw anybody in there, and that means he'll have to run an ARCA race too, which will be fucking hilarious. But
yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. He definitely. I was not surprised to see him be the leader of all of the ringers. Didn't really seem like the rest of that field did incredibly well, but
yeah. Well, Brody had
Stenhouse taking him out.
Yeah, one by one.
Is that what happened? Because I kind of. I mean, I
xenophobic of him.
Okay.
Very fitting of his 1776 personality.
Yes, causing World War III back there.
That's cool. Maybe SVG will get him back next year.
But Brody was pretty fast. He just had to start from the rear, so he was kind of screwed from the beginning. And then Kamui Kobayashi got kind of bent out of shape, and I think his car was a little bit trashed, it seems, because he never really recovered either. But also, it's his first experience driving a Cup car and getting knocked around the way we road race here in NASCAR. So who knows? But yeah, I want to see Brody back as well, because I think it'd be cool to see him actually get a shot at it and not be so hidden like he was on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, for as experienced as those guys are in similar cars to us, the regular Cup crew, the point was made plenty of times that, compared to the street course especially, like, these guys were on a little more even of a playing field because, all the Cup guys this is their third race on this track, so they weren't quite nearly as inexperienced, so it made sense to really not see those guys shine like they could have had they all showed up.
And then to have Michael McDowell come out and whoop your ass.
Well,
it says a lot.
Yeah, I gotta say I wasn't completely surprised to see that. He was super fast in practice. He's been great on the road courses all year.
Kidding aside, he's a great race car driver, and that's really not too big of a shock.
So I had this thought in the car today. Like, I don't want to like him because he's basically like a human pudding pop. And he's got the weird Christian thing going on, but he's also like worked his ass off to get to where he is. So you got to respect that at the very least.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
What he's done with all these other teams. I mean, I'll admit that for Ashley's sake, it would have been nice to see Chase win. And if it was any other driver battling with Chase for the win, I would have taken Chase's side. Well, maybe not every driver, but like most drivers. But I had a couple bets on McDowell that I won, so that's why I had to root for him.
Gotta pay for that nose job.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This shit.
You can add a couple inches on that fucker now that you picked the winner. Yeah, a very Calvary Chapel weekend in Indianapolis. So Ty Gibbs winning on Saturday, and then Michael McDowell winning in the big auditorium. Yes, Jesus was pleased. The Lord was strong. The Holy Spirit was present, and them boys are taking big trophies back to prayer breakfast on Monday morning. So, or promise keepers or whatever the fuck it is they do when they're not at the racetrack.
I don't know if you guys caught it, but I was able to listen on the way back. But McDowell was on Denny's podcast, and it was a good interview. If to any of the listeners that didn't catch it last week, Denny, he put his foot in his mouth like he's done plenty of times, but he really showed that he maybe doesn't totally pay attention to all of his competitors, because he really undervalued McDowell's road course strengths. Like he basically on his podcast last week, he said there's no way that McDowell's going to be able to outpoint Chase on a road course, and then he went and destroyed fucking everybody. So of course Denny had to have him on, and it was a pretty good, interesting interview. I don't really get to hear McDowell talk a whole lot. So,
you don't, yeah.
It was good, and it didn't get too Jesus-y at all, which was nice. Just all race and talk. So
yeah, well, Denny's not ready to give his testimony yet, I'm sure. So. Maybe later on.
He's still got some sins he's paying for.
Yeah. But man, how about Chase Elliott? Coming all the way up through there and finally turning the wick up a little bit. And True Love, I kind of want to get your opinion on this as a fan, because I know you pay a little closer attention to Chase and what's going on over there at the 9 car. But it kind of seemed to me like after last week and after getting such a bad finish, they realized that there is no way they're pointing their way in, and they changed their strategy to actually be fast instead of consistent.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the impression you get?
I don't know. I feel like Chase has been under the mindset ever since he's come back from his suspension that it's win or nothing. He hasn't been interested in trying to point his way in, but over there too, who
seriously
decisions. I don't know.
The window to point himself in closed a long time ago, and I feel like if he doesn't win next week,
I think it didn't close till last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think winning would be.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and they're coming into the stretch of really.
Week was the final.
Yeah, and if there's 3 racetracks you want to go to in a row as a Hendrick driver, as Chase Elliott being, and again, he hasn't really won much of anything on road courses since we switched to this new car, but given his prowess on the twisties, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis, and Daytona being a place where Hendrick just is fast as fuck, at least in qualifying anyway. Those are 3 tracks where you probably feel pretty good about pointing your way in. So I kind of get the impression that maybe they were banking on that a little bit and didn't think that Michael McDowell and Daniel Suarez and everybody else would just actually be fast all of a sudden too. So too little too late maybe.
I don't know. Like I said, I think it's really McDowell especially. These 3 tracks are all his specialties. So
that's for sure.
To have him as your competitor, you're really to anyone not paying attention to that, again, it's just really underestimating how good that guy's been, especially with this new car. So
you almost feel like I don't want to make furniture row comparisons with front row, though I guess it is somewhat appropriate. That team has found speed, and they've gotten better and better, and now they're starting to win races once in a while. And maybe this is the beginning of something a little bit bigger. Who knows? Maybe Michael McDowell will be the next Martin Truex and having a late career surge, and bring K-Love back to the sport and bring DC Talk onto the hood and whatever the fuck else they're gonna do.
Jars of Clay.
Jars of Clay is gonna come up in there, and yeah. family Christian stores, all that shit, But all that aside, like it is pretty cool to see someone who has been a journeyman their entire life, and has not necessarily had the best things happen to him in his career, whether it's by his own hand or by just the way the game goes, But to see him finally actually have pace after like 15 years of just slugging it out, it's pretty cool. So I don't hate it.
Yeah, but I think that's about all we need to talk about Michael McDowell for a while, at least till next week.
We can keep going all night, buddy. Remember when he flipped that car at Texas?
That was his big thing until he won the 500. So now he's got actual accomplishments to talk about.
Well, our buddy Jay, just to keep talking about Michael McDowell here, he when he worked for RCR, he was Michael McDowell won a road course race for them. And he was saying he was a pretty cool guy to work with and a hell of a race car driver. So, yeah. I guess we sort of knew that a while ago, but you just don't get many chances to see it. But now we can stop talking about Michael McDowell. It's all good. Sorry about that.
Are there any other loose ends to tie up with the NASCAR stuff?
I got one more question about Chase Elliott. What's wrong with him? He tried to drink water out of a bottle that had a cap on it. Did you see that shit?
Well, I did see that. I feel like we've all been there before.
Have we?
I think I've been there a time or two.
Just stuck that Dasani bottle right in his mouth.
Yeah, bless his heart.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, Cup cars are on the oval today, or on Monday, if you're listening to this on Wednesday when the show's getting released. On Monday, Cup cars were out in the oval testing the short track package, ironically. I haven't heard anything about it, but I guess we'll be hearing about that in the week to come.
And they also essentially announced next year they're going back to the oval. They said it without saying it. So it's the 30th anniversary. Totally makes sense. I'll be excited to see it as much as I enjoyed the road course, although I'm definitely... again, as much as it was cool to win some money with McDowell, I'm kind of glad I didn't go out this weekend because I probably would have been a little upset to see both him and Gibbs be my winners to break my Byron and Larson streak to be those two. So, oof.
Yeah. One thing I did see on here before we move on that I do want to bring up, and I don't know if you guys saw this, that guy Bozzi is his name. I forget exactly what he does, and I can't pronounce his last name. Somebody asked Bob Pockrass and Jeff Gluck on Twitter what these lanyards that the drivers are wearing around. You kind of see them. It's like a little card on a lanyard. Looks sort of like a corporate credential or something. And then Bozzi gets on there and says, the drivers are wearing an eViewer performance monitor there, which connects wirelessly to an electronic E-Celsius performance pill that they swallow in order to measure core body temperature continuously. So these guys are swallowing like a Fitbit, pretty much.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and they're getting... Isn't that fucking nuts?
Yeah, it was Larson and Hamlin that they had posted a picture of wearing the little lanyard.
Yeah.
But, they posted another picture of Brad wearing one not too long ago.
Yeah, it's fascinating shit, but dude, I guess my question is, do you get it back? Like, do you... And who has to do that?
Said once you pass it, it just kind of... That's it. They're done with it because...
You got to swallow it again?
Within a certain range of the pill and the lanyard to, work.
I was just trying to imagine, running that thing through the dishwasher. What do you... How many of them do you have to buy? That's... Yeah.
I think they said they're $80 each.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Is that with or without your HMO? Yeah, I'm glad to hear they're one and done because that would be. I feel bad for the guy who Denny does his podcast with because I feel like that'd be the guy
that would be the guy.
Fish it out. Whatever the fuck his name is.
Jared.
So the tray and some tweezers.
That I did not realize existed.
I didn't know that was used in NASCAR. That's for sure. Yeah. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It is high tech, and that is high tech. So, yeah, they're all.
Some of those drivers, I feel like, would be skeptical of that. The government's putting chips in us, and
That is a pretty good point.
Yeah.
Especially Brad K.
Yeah.
Brad K for sure. McDowell, who doesn't believe in aliens, he would probably not be into that either. But Denny's an athlete, and Larson,
swallows all sorts of shit.
Yeah, God, no comment. Larson, he's probably going to want to get all the body tech info he can get before doing the duel next year, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a fact. Oh, yeah, Kyle Larson, and got a first look at his car, and they put that ugly-ass McLaren orange on. I just hate McLaren so much. I really do. Like, especially since they came over in an IndyCar. Those motherfuckers are... Like, this new American management can kiss my ass, but that's a whole other conversation, I guess. We don't have to talk about that.
That
and all the
car reminded me, it looked like it should have like a FedEx logo on it or something.
Yeah. It's fine, and I'm definitely excited to see that out there. But yeah, God, I hate the fact that Larson's driving for McLaren. But they also have Pato Award for now, and I love him too, so, kind of conflicted. I'm not a big Hendrick fan either, though, so I guess that's my lot in life. It can't all be Chip Ganassi, And I think that's all I had from the wonderful world of the internet here that I was going to bring up with you guys. Chase sucking on a water bottle and swallowing pills and shit. And,
it was a rough day. Did
yeah.
we lose Brien again?
We might have. Yeah, he's gone. Yeah, he's nervous about his nose job coming up, I bet.
I would be nervous too.
Just going off to rip nips in the Applebee's bathroom here. But yeah, I'm excited for Watkins Glen coming up though.
I did not.
He's back, folks.
Yes, I'm back.
It comes back every time, like mid-sentence.
Yeah.
That's so because I can hear you guys and I'm saying a sentence, and then apparently it takes like a couple seconds to actually click in. But yeah, I keep unplugging my fucking microphone, so sorry.
God damn it.
Jesus.
This early night recording has got me all fucked up.
Yeah, again, it's Monday night right now, so whatever big news that's broken, we don't know about yet.
I don't feel like this is... I don't think it's going to be a very newsworthy week, unless somebody else likes the wrong meme before the race.
And what about Noah Gragson did last weekend?
Yeah, there's been... he's been dead silent on social media. Surprise, surprise. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, no shit, huh?
Yeah.
I guess I would be too.
Finally took his own advice.
Yeah, oh well.
Well, I did not spend much time on racing internet this weekend. Again, we're about to get into that in a second, but were there any DARFs? Were there any other controversial things to talk about before we get into the big trip?
Oh, I'm sure there were. But I couldn't tell you what they were. A lot of people on the internet bitching about either saying that Kyle Larson winning 2 Knoxville Nationals makes it a dynasty, which it doesn't. So anyone who said that is kind of an idiot. But not many people have said that, so I don't know. I'm sure I'll think of it as soon as we hang up the call. But no, everyone was pretty well behaved over the weekend on the internet. I didn't see anything that was too wild.
I didn't see too many angry people this week, I feel like.
I know I'm missing something. I fucking know it, but... I do want to give a quick shout out to the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series and just how good the North-South 100 was. Yet another battle right down to the wire between Bobby Pierce and RTJ. If you guys aren't watching this shit, you are missing out. This is a battle for the ages, and then there's a bunch of other guys that are fast too, and they're about to enter their own version of the playoffs since they are the first non-NASCAR series that I'm aware of to adopt that. Sort of playoff postseason kind of thing, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, do yourself a favor, and if you don't have a Flow subscription or have one or whatever the fuck, if you have YouTube, you can watch highlights. Check this series out and watch some of these finishes because it's been incredible this year.
Cool. Yeah, I'll be in the house for the next few days, so I'll have plenty of time to watch it.
Yeah, stroking that new long nose, foot long. Yeah. Oh, so while we wait for our guests to arrive, though, I will say this. So my parents are officially moving to Arkansas, which is fucking annoying for me personally. Yeah. But where they're moving to puts me within 2 hours of the Chili Bowl, which is fucking awesome, which means I'll get to go to that. And I'm going to try and go home to New Mexico in a couple of weeks, just sort of to see the old house for the last time and all that. But they might actually be gone by then. And if that's the case, then I'm going to take these like transferable JetBlue tickets, and I might hit the Southern 500 if you're still gone.
Okay. Yeah. Well. I mean, I can make it work. I mean, I just got to drive down there.
Yeah. I got some other buddies that are there too, so it's not completely contingent on you going. But just a heads up, if you were planning on going, there's a pretty decent chance that I might be able to swing that. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to crash with me, you're more than welcome to. If not, we'll just end up meeting up. But
hell yeah,
we'll figure it out. Yeah, now that I still got to get with Greg and figure out Talladega, because I think that's what we're gonna do.
That's cool. Nothing quite like going to the racetrack with your friends out there in Radio Land. If you're listening to this, as we wait for the special guests to arrive.
I booked my campground lot today for Bristol. So,
oh shit!
And I got hot passes for that, so I am all set.
That's going to be quite the to-do. That's awesome.
A little bit different segment this week. So as I mentioned last week, went back home because my buddy Josh and I we went to do the Kenny Wallace dirt track experience at Lebanon Valley Speedway, which was a real fucking day. Josh, I don't even know where to start. This was I guess we'll start with the whole explanation as to how this happened. My mom got me this pass to do the experience at Albany Saratoga Speedway in Christmas of 2019. Obviously, 2020 that did not happen.
What took you so long?
Part of it was scheduling. Part of it was the dates would always get filled out too fast. And even this year, like when it was originally scheduled, I mean, it was scheduled for the weekend of Indy, and I was like, oh man, that sucks, because I already had plans to go to Indy.
Right.
But when they switched it to Lebanon Valley, it's like, well, fuck, never mind. It's my home track. It's a track I've always wanted to take a lap on, and Indy trips off. We're doing that, and Josh, being a man that he's spent plenty of time on motorcycles and into cars and shit, invited him along, and he decided to take the trip. And on this past Friday, we made our way out to Lebanon Valley, and it really started off on a weird note. I think within 2 seconds of showing up to the trailer, the lady checking us in started to give me a little shit, and that was fun.
She was something. Go ahead, man. She was kind of miserable. I sweet talked her, but she was mad at Brien, no doubt. Like you could tell there's something wrong with him. I don't know. Maybe she was just like, oh great, one of these autistic people that just come drive. So I gotta drive a car. Here we go. And so she was like another one. God damn it. I realized how mean. Like, as I was saying autistic, I was like, oh god, that's kind. I don't mean it in a mean way, but I mean it in like
very
somebody
literal.
that's really into it. Yes, I guess.
I'm sure that lady deals with that quite regularly. So,
well,
yeah,
I think what we learned though within a couple minutes was there was an incident earlier on in the day, and we'll get the yes, we'll explain what that incident was, but we got to the track right on time, and it turns out our class was delayed by an hour, so we had some time to kind of watch everybody else and see what was going on. When we were checking in, our group was kind of a mixed bag of who was doing it. There was one other guy who was very clearly a race fan like myself. He was wearing a Billy Pauch t-shirt, and he actually, when he was checking in, I overheard he was scheduled to go at 10 o'clock, and he just completely missed it, so no fucking clue what happened there. The other guys in our group, there was one kind of normal looking dude that I didn't really talk to him much, and then there was a large older gentleman who brought his own motorcycle helmet, and we later learned he wasn't even a race fan. He had no idea what he was getting into. He just showed up because his wife got it for him for like an anniversary present or something. So
20th anniversary.
Yeah, real weird group. I guess I thought going into this it would be all like straight up race fans, because it's not like one of those deals where you can go drive an exotic car on a road course or something. Like this is dirt track racing. It's a little more of a niche thing, but
for sure.
There were some non-fans and non-race people as part of the group. So we got in the track, and we had, like I said, we had some time, and we watched the group ahead of us do their laps. And the first car on the track was the late model, which is cool to see. That was, out of all three of them, definitely the fastest actual car of the whole day.
Yeah. And
the first guy getting on it, he actually spun the car out once, which was funny. But he was getting sideways a little bit. The dirt modified got on the course, and I will admit I was a little bummed watching it because it was really not getting up to speed that well. and part of me thought like, oh God, I hope this is just the driver. And when I got in the car, I learned it wasn't the case, but we'll get into that. Obviously, going to these types of things, the cars are kind of tuned down a bit. They've got rev limiters, and you get some of the experience, but it's
they're not going to let you bend a rocket chassis in half, buddy.
Yeah,
for a couple $100.
For sure. The way I explain the experience, I guess, for some people, this would be like scratching an itch. Like, I've always wanted to get into a race car. I've always wanted to see what this is like. For me, it was like picking a scab that starts bleeding everywhere, because like it was cool, but it just makes me want to get in a fucking real car and see what it's really like, because I was trying my hardest to get that thing going around, but we'll get into that. So we watched all the guys go in front of us, and we kind of just had some time to wander around the clubhouse and the track and stuff with nobody around, and we get into our class, and the instructor was this guy from Rhode Island who was missing probably half of his teeth. And within about 30 seconds of the class starting, he said he mentioned the incident again, and I was like, "What happened?" So he points over to turn 3, and he's, "You see that big black mark on the wall?" Yeah. One of the sprint cars got into the wall, flipped into the catch fence, and the kid's helmet flew off.
Oh.
Jesus.
It turns off he was fine. He was fine, and I figured that it was the sprint car that wrecked, because like when you walked in, you could see a red sprint car kind of over by the trailers that looked a little bit fucked up. I went over and looked at it later when we were in the pits waiting for our turn, and front axle was broke, gas tank was like hanging off the car, there was fluids coming out of it. So I hope that kid had the insurance, because he definitely did some damage to that thing.
Was your instructor Jughead?
Oh my fucking God. If it was Jughead, I would have been in heaven. I don't think Jughead knows how to string together that many sentences, though. Josh, you don't know who Jughead is, but Jughead is a friend of Kenny Wallace that kind of looks like a mutated burn victim. He just kind of...
This guy also kind of looked like a mutant, too. What was his call letters? He had call signal or some call letters or whatever the hell. He's like, "They know me by whatever his name is, and my call name, like Double D or something." Remember that? He's like, "You could say both and they'll know who we're talking about." And it's like, but long ponytail, Sunoco hat, that was probably from the 90s, but like not worn for the vintage thing. It's just because that guy just had that hat on.
That's his hat, yeah.
That's the hat.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. I mean, he just kind of went over, like, the buckles and what was going to happen when you get in the car. Like, everything was push start there.
Really?
And the only thing, I think the late model, you had to put it in gear manually, but the other two, like the sprint cars and the modified, it was just roll off. And yeah, he ended, I don't remember the actual joke, but he randomly ended our class with a Pollock joke. Like, apropos of nothing, just fucking, I got a joke to tell you, and he tells his Pollock joke. Josh, as the more Polish one of the two of us, I don't know if you remember it, but...
I do not remember. It might have been something about guesses or telling your Polish wife 3 times or something. I don't. You're gonna tell her once and then you forgot the last 2 after. I don't know. Some stupid shit.
Some variation on theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very weird. It was definitely very weird. Also, the guy with his own motorcycle helmet in our class, he was a BMW guy, surprise, surprise. He's just like this weird, like portly, kind of tall guy, but he might have been a little autistic as well, because he was like weird and didn't know anything about cars, like he said. But like if you just looked at him and his giant head, I was like, this guy's got something wrong with him. But he had a wife of 20 years, which is a lot more than Brian's got going for him, so he can't be that.
Oh, thank you. Jeez.
Birds of a feather, yeah.
But anyway, he had the whole communication Senna system and all that shit in his helmet. He had the really nice motorcycle helmet too. It was the boy, I always look at him like, like I'm going to spend $500 for a helmet. But whatever, he was cool.
One thing we were a little disappointed to learn when we were walking in that they didn't keep our lap times. Josh and I were definitely looking to bet on who was going to be faster, but when we got down there, it really wasn't going to work out anyways, because they only had one dirt modified, and to kind of speed everybody along, they were kind of trying to push people to drive other cars. So Josh ended up driving the wingless sprint car, also probably partially too because he's a little bit taller than me and he fit that thing a little bit better. But now, yeah, Josh, let's talk about it. You were the first on the track, and talk about what it was like, what you felt.
Yeah, so the toothless guy, they talk about you got to put the radio set in your ears. So I'm like, all right. You get in the car and you strap yourself all in, and you jam the headphones into your ears, and a guy barks into it. It's so goddamn loud, and it has to be. Right. It's like, all right, man, that's super loud. Just stop testing already. So cool. Then all right, all this, they don't tell you anything. They're like, all right, there's 2 cones set up. That's where you step off. There's a cone right beyond it. That's where you step back on again. There's no don't go in a turn 500 miles an hour. There's nothing. There's no real driving lesson. It's mostly how do you unbuckle in case you flip over 30 times and your car's on fire. That's it. They don't care about how you drive. They don't care about teaching anything, which who cares? Step on the gas and go. Right. So I'd never been in one of these cars before, and I'm just sitting there, and they bump you from behind, you get going, and you're just when you get into the track, I think I was the second or third car out, and none of them were my type of car. I think the big block was out there, and the whatever. And you just kind of hang out on the bottom until they're like, all right, go ahead, number 5. And they don't have your name, as of a number on your car. And all you hear is nothing. Yeah, you hear blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think that was me. Hell if I fucking know, so I'm just going to go. If I hit somebody, fuck it. So that's it, man, just on the gas. And I never did this. And I'm kind of weaving a little, but in my head, I'm going 100 miles an hour. It's the fastest shit. I'm like, hell yeah. And then you're kind of fighting it around the turns, and but you're not going very fast. And it's trying to get the hang of getting off the gas and getting before on the cone so you can get the most speed into the turn. Right. And then by the time we kept going, it was sliding, so it was kind of cool. And then by I don't know, whatever lap, it's you lift it to the left and people are passing because different people are coming in and going. But I was doing at least 500 miles an hour down the fucking stretch because that's what it felt like. And it gave me, I'm not a race pro or anything, but I go enjoy the races, and it felt like I was man, I was out there by myself for a while. They're oh, you're all by yourself, number 5. I'm like, fuck yeah, all right. And I'm spinning shit. They're all right, settle down, or hey, you're doing great. They're kind of talking to you, and I'm yeah. Oh, there's no cars out here. My legit thought was I think everybody's watching how fucking great I am, and I'm going to be signed as the next fucking racer.
This is your moment, right?
yeah. I'm oh, shit, there's nobody else out here. They probably pulled everybody in. I'm doing so great. I'm getting a little shit around number 2, and I'm all right, flailed down the backstretch. I'm getting my foot. I'm not touching the brake. And then 2 minutes later, all right, you're getting past, move over. I'm oh, shit, all right. But that, it was so dusty. You couldn't see at one point. And Brien probably say the same thing because he's out way longer than I was. Going into those turns, I'm I don't know if there's a car in front of me or not, and if they're sideways, I'm just gonna. And we had seen people spin out multiple times, right. So it's I might just kill somebody or myself. But I'm not fucking stepping on the brake. That would be fucking dumb. I spent $150 to wail on the gas, and that's all I'm gonna do, come hell or high water.
So but over it was. Fence, yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to go further and higher than that guy. That's what I want to do. But it's cool, man. It was exciting. I'm he was talking about his scab and now it's bleeding. It's I did this with flat track motorcycles. I thought the same thing. I'm buying a flat track bike, going to learn how to do it for real. I got the hang of it. I'm in. And, 2 years later, whatever, I still haven't. But I want no time. But I want to. Now it's yo, get a car and race. That's just the best.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I will say this has definitely lit a fire under my ass to sell most of what's in my house this winter and get some sort of racing vehicle next year, because it just, the experience definitely just makes me want to do something next year in a car. But so that was Josh's experience. I was up next, and I had 22 laps on the track. I forgot, I haven't been in a dirt modified since I was 11 years old, and it was way more of a pain in the ass than I remembered to get in the thing. It took me a few minutes to push myself in the car. Not because I'm big, it's just because it's it's so weird of an angle to get into the seat on those fucking things. Get in the car, and there were problems with my radio. Like, even on pit row, they couldn't get their audio feed to work. Kind of got it working, and I finally go out on the track, and immediately the first thing I notice is how loose the steering is. Like, it was incredibly loose. I didn't really expect it. I thought it'd be more responsive. But I guess with a dirt car, it doesn't necessarily need to be super responsive.
Yeah.
And I'm getting on the track and taking my pace lap, and I still get no radio. Like, they said when you first get on the track, you're gonna at least hear, like, stay to the left, and then they'll tell you when to take the green, and I heard nothing. So I took a couple pace laps and then came in. They had to fix my fucking radio, and then they finally put me back on the track. Once I finally got up to green, I think within a lap and a half, I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking just step on it, and definitely got loose a couple times, and really in turn 3 and 4. Now, for those who don't know Lebanon Valley Speedway, it's a half-mile, fairly high-banked dirt oval, and it's actually kind of like Darlington in the sense that it's egg-shaped. Turns 1 and 2 are a lot more mellow and were way easier to get through, whereas 3 and 4, I don't want to say I guess it was kind of a sharper turn, because the entry was I don't know, I couldn't quite figure out where to actually center it in the corner, and I kept like drifting out towards the wall coming out of 4. But, like Josh mentioned before, there were cones set up in the turns to let you know where you're supposed to get off the throttle and where you're supposed to get back on it. And, at least for a while I paid attention to those, but once I kind of got the hang of it, that shit was out the window. The problem was, because of the rev limiters, I was getting on the chip almost every lap. Like, they told you in the class that really you're supposed to almost coast through the turns. Meanwhile, man, I was getting off the throttle going into the turn, and halfway through I was picking it back up. So I had to figure out like how to really feather the throttle so that I could at the very least not hit the chip until I was actually entering the next turn. So that's kind of where the whole, like, man, fuck, I really want to get a real car, because, like, you got a little bit sideways, but you didn't really get the full experience as far as drifting goes, which, again, probably is for the best with most of these people who, again, some of them don't even know what the fuck a race car is. Maybe someone like one of us, like, we kind of have an idea, and even though we probably would actually wreck the thing,
probably more likely to do so than anybody else.
For sure, but at least we'd have a chance of pulling it off compared to other people. But yeah, I mean, I did 20-something laps, and I actually passed a couple of the sprint cars, which nobody else was doing in the modified. But in saying that, like Josh was saying, in the turns, it was dusty as fuck. Like, they watered down the track right before my turn, and halfway through the run, just dust everywhere.
Yeah.
I was behind Outlaw for a lap or two, and yeah, it was just like blind. Like, I knew at that point, by the time I'd taken enough laps, so I kind of knew where to turn and where I was supposed to go. So, but it was still almost blind. And yeah, it went by pretty quick. I would definitely say for anybody who is a race fan, you should do something like this. It was really, really cool, really fun. I definitely want to do it next year, and I'd like to do it at Albany Saratoga because, especially being a shorter track, maybe I got a better chance of actually getting the most out of the car speed-wise. Who the hell knows? But I know next year when they do it again, we're gonna try to get some more of our friends to come out and do it. And Rob, if you want to join us, yeah, by all means, man, you should do it.
It is well worth it. It's 100 out of 10. As I'm a novice race guy. I don't race things or whatever, but man, it was fun as hell. It was like I can't wait to do it again. I still wish we could try and actually really race them, but I know that ain't gonna happen. Like, I definitely want to put you in the wall.
Well, we can do that at a go-kart track.
I will definitely do that at a go-kart track.
If you can catch me. But yeah, next year I'll probably do the late model, just because after seeing how much faster that thing was, right. I gotta have the extra speed for sure. Although I wasn't expecting the sprint cars, like especially the winged ones, to actually, I thought they were going to be the stretched out ones with like extra seats, but they were regular sized sprint cars. They still didn't seem as fast as the that late model though. But
were they 410s or?
I don't think so. No,
Yeah.
I don't know what motor they had, but I doubt they would have had 410s in those things.
Yeah, seriously. Just asking for trouble.
Yeah, for sure. So after that, because of the weather, I mean, one of the things I wanted to do coming out this past weekend was to go see Kenny Tremont make one of his final starts at Lebanon Valley. You know, I've talked about him on the show before. He's my first ever favorite driver. You know, big part of my childhood being a racing fan. Saw him so many times as a kid, and he announced his retirement at the end of the season. But the weather did not look very good for Saturday night. So Josh decided, since he had nothing else going on, to come along with me. We drove directly from Lebanon Valley to Albany, Saratoga, because the timing worked out to where, you know, we were going to be there just in time for everything to start. So we made our way down there. And for those who don't know, Albany, Saratoga, it's a pretty historic track in the sense that it actually hosted some cup dates in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. It was an asphalt track for a little while. It's a 3/8 mile oval that's obviously now dirt. And, you know, it's about half an hour from downtown Albany. And even though it was a great crowd, it was full stands and a really great show, that whole area's got a lot of construction going on, and I know it definitely could seem like one of those situations where the neighborhood kind of closes in on it and shuts it down, but you know, hopefully that doesn't happen, especially with the Lebanon Valley group owning the track now, but I guess that remains to be seen. There's one of those big, massive shopping centers that has apartments above it, like right down the street, and there's a lot of money in that area because it's not too far from the Saratoga race course, which is probably one of the more wealthy areas in the Capital District.
Yeah,
so
you can kind of read the tea leaves and see where this is going to eventually go.
For sure. But I think it was probably my first time going to the track in almost 25 years. You know, Lebanon Valley being my home track, I you know, the past few years I've tried to make it back there every time, once a year, but Albany, Saratoga just never bothered. But being that Kenny runs there too, and I really wanted to see him run at least, you know, one actual race while we were in town, we made our way there, bought the pit passes, and made our way in, found Kenny, and it's the first time I've seen him, and again, an actual child, and introduced myself, and I, you know, kind of told the story of how we'd known each other in the past, and I doubt he actually remembered me, but he played it up like he vaguely had memories of me being at his house and whatnot, and we had a nice chat, and I did my thing where I'm a collector. I wanted to buy any sheet metal or maybe a driver suit or any old shit he had that he wanted to get rid of. He actually gave me his phone number and invited me to stop by the house, which awesome. We'll get to that. But the race itself was really, really good. Honestly, I forgot. I guess I just forgot how good racing was there at that track because, you know, they did pro stocks and then a bunch of different sportsmen and then the big block modified feature. It was just
the track sanctioning, right? It wasn't a tour or anything like that.
Oh no, it's all just local track stuff. Yeah. And now there's no video of the week this week aside from a little interview with a kid that we saw race on Saturday night in the limited sportsman series or limited sportsman class. I don't know what the actual distinction is between the limited sportsmen and the sportsmen because they look the same. They seem to run the same speed. Like they're not different sized or anything. So I don't know if it's just people with less experience or what. But during the limited sportsman feature, there was the two cars were battling for a while, and this one black car ended up making a great last lap pass and won. Driver gets out of the car, and it's a fucking child. When I say a child, I mean this kid's balls had not dropped yet, child. You know, I guess it's fairly common now to see like 14, 15, 16-year-olds driving bigger adult-sized cars. No, this kid was a fucking child. His name was Connor Clare, I think. And I found a little 2-minute interview. It was actually the first ever interview he's done. And it just shows really how awkward and young he is, but at the same time, like, once you get past the awkwardness of the interview, he starts talking about, like, running the high lines and different things on the track, and it's like, holy shit, like, it's really weird to see this awkward little chubby kid with a mullet talk about running the high line at this track and figuring it out. But he only made his first start in that class in April, and the race that we saw him win was his second race that he'd won in a row. So
he's definitely figured it out.
Yeah. So the little bit of research I did, his whole family races, and he actually seems to be running higher divisions than his dad. He's got a younger brother that races as well, and it's weird to say I kind of want to keep an eye out on a kid, but I mean, it was really impressive.
You're gonna do it.
I guess I'm gonna have to now. So, yeah.
I don't think, like, Brian's underselling this whole child thing. Like, this kid drives up and gets the chick on the track interview, and he gets out of his car, and it's like, that driver's kind of small. I think Brian was even like, I think that's a girl driver. And then this, it could be a midget, but this chick starts asking him a question, and then you hear his voice like, well, I don't know about it. And literally everybody around us, every goddamn person was like, this is a child. Like, everybody started looking at each other like, how old is this kid? Like, unbelievable. So 12 years old is like 7th grade. Like, this kid could be going into 7th grade, 6th grade going. It's like, you can't, like, it's insane to me that this kid, the way he drove, like, it was incredible. I was like, even halfway through the race, I'm like, man, as a novice, that black car, the black and pink car, that driver's good, man. And then everybody is like, holy shit, this is insanity. This child, like, prepubescent teen, like, weird child.
Yeah.
It's like when you see that, like, Muay Thai fighters, when there's kids like that young, that's what this kid was.
Yeah, it's always so shocking to see that. I think there was like a 13-year-old that won a super late model race pretty recently, which is fucking insane. And, like, they just get younger and younger, and I think about what it'd be like to get into it on track with somebody like that. You know, like, they rough you up or you rough them up or whatever, and then it gets to fighting. And then now you're having to fight somebody's dad instead.
Yeah.
You just do like that guy at Bowman Gray and beat on the woman's glass of her car instead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were just gonna say, "That'd be like that guy in Colton Gray just beat on the woman."
Yeah, just kick his mom's ass.
You had a pause.
Someone's catching an ass whooping.
There was a pause there that had me like, oh, now we're getting to some real NASCAR shit right here, beating women. That's what I think of.
That's the Patreon portion of the show.
Jesus.
So yeah, it was cool seeing this kid, but at the same time, like, I wish that I was so jealous. Like, when I was 12, you know how much I would have loved to have been able to drive a fucking race car when I was 12? Like, that's it. Just thinking back to where I was in life and how immature I was, and this kid's out there winning races. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, being who I was when I was 12-year-old, just a complete fucking idiot, you know, like, behind the wheel of anything, much less, at Albany, which is a pretty serious racetrack. Yeah, it's not like a little go-kart track or anything. But,
I almost tipped a 3-wheeler over when I was 12, so that was my driving experience. Number one, I almost fell off the back, and then when I tried to ride it, I fucking yanked it to the left and almost tipped it over. But, let alone handling a real machine. Can you imagine? Good for that kid.
Seriously.
It'll be a failure in no time. You know, that kid is going to get into drugs or do something stupid, and, well, maybe not. His whole family's racers. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope not. We'll see what happens.
Connor, give it, Rising Star of the Week. I'll follow your career, Connor.
Yeah, what's his name?
Connor Clare, Connor
I think
something.
it's Connor Crane.
Connor
Crane. That's it. Connor Crane. Yeah. Well, you'll see.
You gotta love that name. That's a great NASCAR name, Connor Crane.
It's a great racing name.
Sure.
Yeah.
There it is.
Main event modified feature. Kenny ended up coming in 4th, which was good to see him do pretty well there because he really ran like shit in his heat race. Like, his car couldn't turn. I don't know what the hell was going on, but he did well in the feature, so that was good. Next day, the weather was iffy all afternoon, and towards the end of the afternoon, I looked and I was like, okay, it looks like it's probably not going to start raining until 8 or 9. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to take the risk. Because race was supposed to start at 6, and I was like, well, maybe they'll get most of the shit in. It was a pretty limited field at the Valley. They only ran big blocks, sportsman, street stock, and pro stock, which they normally have like 6 or 7 classes.
I think 4 divisions is the right amount, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was moved. They moved the entire program along as fast as they could because they knew the weather was going to be an issue. There was no even national anthem or anything. There was no pre-race stuff. It was literally just as soon as it was supposed to be 6 o'clock, they put the cars on the track. The crowd was not too hot just because, again, the weather coming in, I'm sure that kept a lot of people out. And, you know, it was a fine night. There were a couple decent street stock wrecks, and they had just started the sportsman feature, or limited sportsman. It was a limited sportsman feature. All of a sudden, we got like a 5-minute downpour. And it was probably only within a mile or 2 radius of the track, because leaving the track, it was dry 5 miles down the road, but it completely washed the track away, and everybody was gone within 15 minutes. So, you know, I got to see Kenny, you know, run his heat races and run hot laps and stuff. So that'll probably be the last time I get to see him at the Valley, just because, you know, they only have, I think, two more races before the Super Dirt stuff starts. Unfortunately, I asked him if he was running Oswego, and he said he's not. So that was another reason why I decided to take the risk to go to the Valley, because I figured this was probably my last time to actually see him.
Well, I'm glad you did. That's awesome, man. It's rare you get to kind of call your shot and get to see somebody you look up to or follow under such circumstances. So that's fucking cool, man.
For sure. And you know, it's not like he's not going to be going to the track in the future. He's got a 21-year-old son that's going to be taking over the car next year, and you know, he'll be the 3rd Tremont to drive that car. So you know, I'm sure when I go to the track next year, I'll see him and whatnot. So, because even his dad still goes to the races. His dad was in Kenny's dad was in the trailer hanging out, and he's like got to be in his late 80s now at this point. So yeah, Sunday comes around. And, you know, Kenny told me to give him a shout, so I did. And he's like, yeah, come on over. And I picked up another buddy of mine who, coincidentally enough, is named Ken, who, old BMX friend of mine who lives in the neighborhood. And he actually had a lot of history with the Tremont family. He lives probably 2-3 miles away from the Tremonts. His dad used to race street stocks. His dad has worked on the car. My friend Ken actually crewed Kenny's team at Devil's Bowl last year when Kenny actually won there. So, you know, they all knew each other. So he came out along with me to the track, or to the garage, and we show up, and Kenny's just outside by himself washing the race car. He brings us back to behind the house where he had a few storage trailers full of old sheet metal and random shit, and he pulled out a full passenger side door from last year that had a tiny bit of damage to it, but it was complete and looked real cool. And he's like, yeah, here you go. Didn't charge me anything, nothing.
That's awesome.
Which was so fucking cool. Like, I just couldn't believe he was so generous. And you know, we went inside and he signed it, took some photos, and we hung out for a good half hour, 45 minutes, just talking about racing stuff and talking about, you know, their family history and talking about his future and, you know, how he's feeling and stuff. And, you know, again, I barely knew the guy even back when I was a kid around the sport, and, you know, for him to take that time to hang out with us and just talk about race and stuff, and, you know, ask about our lives and ask about racing out in Ohio and stuff. And it was just one of those really special moments that I don't think I'll forget this weekend for a long time. So that was just really awesome. So that was my big weekend back home doing dirt stuff. And yeah, it's not the end of my racing trips for the year, but it was probably the most special one.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat, I think.
Yeah. And really,
I knew it's very special. I mean, don't let him, you know, downplay how special it was. I saw him with tears in his eyes talking to Kenny, trying to bilk him for merchandise. So it was like weird, joyful tears, like dollar signs running down his face.
I do not want to. I told Kenny I'm not selling any of this shit. He did tell me that he's going to dig up some more stuff for me when I come back in October. More like clothing and like driver suit stuff, because he says he has
Locks
that.
of hair.
Well, he didn't have any hair left, so
More hair.
Yeah, he was a super nice guy, to be honest with you. I don't know him from anybody, but he took the time out to actually be like, try and think of Brien and be like, yeah, kind of maybe remember you. And then super just like, he's just like normal, like, all right, what are you guys doing? We're like, what are you talking to us for? You got a race, don't you? And then they broke down, and it was great. Super nice. I was like, man, this guy doesn't know you, and he's going to take you back to his house and give you shit. That's awesome. So good for that guy. I like that.
Well, he said he texted his sons, and they said hello and stuff. So I mean, they remembered me. Again, it'd probably been 20-something years since I've seen him. So, but we were friends. So, but yeah, and yeah, I gotta thank you, Josh.
They said they didn't know you.
Oh yeah, of course, really.
Who?
But I gotta thank Josh for joining me along this trip, because it really meant a lot to have a buddy. It would have done it without anybody, but it was really cool to have one of my closest friends doing all this shit with me, and that was a really good time. So.
It was a good time, and I also went way faster than you, and if we ever get to race, it'll be on. So it was great. All right, dude, thanks for bringing it up. I'm excited to do it again next year. I want to find more of these.
Yeah, well, we'll make it happen. I got to do a stock car one too. I mean, I do want to see what it's like to be on asphalt.
Well,
so
if you guys want to play on some on asphalt down at Stafford Speedway, about 40 minutes from my house, they actually have a street stock that you can rent out. Like, anybody can do it, and you actually run a feature.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm doing it. Yep. Never mind.
I think it's like
that's it.
It's like $500 or $600. It's a little more expensive than a normal.
Yep.
But you're literally in the feature. You're on Flow Racing. It's a whole thing. You get a NASCAR license.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I'm doing that. Rob, you let me know next year when it's happening. That's happening.
So they just let anybody race. That seems very dangerous.
Yes, quite literally. Like, anybody out there, like a full 25 car field of little bang bangers, and you and a friend.
Holy crap! Oh my god! I want to definitely do that.
And they are
doing that.
They're not the fastest cars, obviously, but you could probably. They're good for about 12th, 10th if you know how to haul the mail. So. And they always end up spitting out. Typically, it's always like it's like having a bee in the car with you. Is the only way I can really describe it. Like watching that race,
Well, we are in. That'll be next year's big Applebee's trip. Everybody goes to the racetrack and crashes in turn 4. So
hell yeah,
that'll be good. All right, well, that I think brings us to the end of our trip to Applebee's, and now it's time for plugs. Josh, though, he's going to get the big plug because he has shit to plug. Josh, like we mentioned before, he plays in a bunch of different bands. Josh, talk about it.
Hey, we'll plug the Jagaloons. Look up Jagaloons NY on Instagram. It's a surf band, and everybody's going to make fun of me because it is stupid. I get it. That's a joke. It's like that's the thing, man. Like, you're not telling me anything I don't know. It's dumb. So, yeah. And then if I don't plug Cheap Heat, I think it's on Bandcamp as Harley Race. Don't ask. And I don't know. I think that's about it. That's all I got going on right now. Do I have anything else? No.
Do you have any Falcons dates?
Hudson Falcons, we're doing a Joe Strummer tribute show this Saturday the 20th in D.C.
Ah, word.
At the Pie Shop.
Oh, there you go.
Who's on that?
I don't know. I just show up and play, man.
All right.
I have no idea. Yeah. Who cares?
All right. Well,
I'm on it. That's all that matters.
There you go. Perfect. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram at Meet Me at Applebee's and on Twitter at Meet Me at the Bees. I am Speedway Screens on all the things and speedwaytsj.etsy.com.
True Love.
Now the rest of you.
Yeah, it's still Snake Mountain _ True Love.
You were selling some shit on there.
It's true.
Yeah, it's because I'm poor and I got to go to Bristol next month. So.
Yeah, lots of great hats on her channel right now. It's not a channel. If you have a channel, you're not talking about it. But there's definitely an Etsy store, and you should buy from her. She's got good shit.
And I mean, I know you keep a lot of shit, but I mean, I did not expect you to keep some Kenny Bernstein hats, so
No.
Pretty good ones.
I kept all the
though.
good Budweiser hats for myself.
Such is tradition. Rob Motes _ unofficial on Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and just announce this show, even though I'm not supposed to. It's The official announcement's tomorrow, but I'm giving all 5 of you a heads up. I mentioned last week my band Dirty Bangs is doing a big reunion show. We're opening for Sheila Divine at Brighton Music Hall this November, day before Thanksgiving, which I believe is November 22nd. So I forget who else is on the show, but Sheila Divine's pretty cool live. They had a big hit in the 90s or some shit like that. And they're nice guys. And then we'll be playing about 25 minutes ahead of time, and I'll be getting drunk and ruining Thanksgiving the following day. So,
hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, all right, folks. Well, thank you for joining us at Applebee's once again, and we will talk to y'all next week.